About halfway through the album process, we had a different title that we went into the album recording like we thought it was going to be a different title. But then halfway through, we weren't really thinking that the music represented the title that we had in mind. It was something that Cole randomly sang during a writing session for a song, and he was singing, and then he just went, "Tell me that it's over, tell me that it's over." And we're like, okay. And then that became the actual lyric in the song. And I remember just bringing it up to Dylan, what if it was called Tell Me That It's Over? And then it was kind of a light bulb moment, you know? And then we basically just committed to that and found, you know, meaning in the songs for that title. So it all just kind of happened very naturally and just kind of like, it was like, that isn't I Don't Want to Talk, and we should call it that. And it felt like a cool album title to us at that moment.
Hey MTV News, we're Wallows, and these are our top 5 bands.
My favorite band is the Beatles, because that is why I play music, that is why I'm in this band, that's why I'm talking to you right now, because when I was about 10 years old, my dad played me all the Beatles records, and I was like, whoa, it was this amazing experience hearing Sgt. Pepper for the first time on vinyl, and you know, they're my favorite singers, my favorite songwriters, so yeah, the Beatles are definitely number one.
One of my favorite bands is a band called The Cleaners from Venus. I'm still kind of new to their music, sort of discovering them more recently, but they are just really, really ahead of their time. You know, you hear their songs, what is it, from like 80s?
Yeah.
80s?
Yeah.
And they sound like a lot of the alternative sort of guitar music that's being made today. So clearly, you know, their DNA is, you know, they were pretty influential. So I don't think that music would be the same. Some of my more favorite modern bands wouldn't be the same without that band just kind of existing.
Third favorite band, in no particular order here, we're not going in order, is, I gotta say, it's really hard. I could name off like literally at least 25 bands right now, but I'll just roll with Arcade Fire. Arcade Fire is, I think, just in our DNA. Like, we grew up all just like worshiping that band at different points in our lives, and I feel like it's a very influential band on our music. They have sort of larger than life feeling albums, and super anthemic and emotional, and just not afraid to really go there. And I feel like that is inherently sort of in our music. Like if you put on Nothing Happens or something, there's a lot of Arcade Fire influence in that. And Cole and I shared, like when we were 14, went to Coachella for the first time in 2011. Arcade Fire headlined that year, and that was like a really pivotal moment for us as little like young musicians, just seeing this like unbelievable live show. And they dropped all these balloons on the crowd. It was like, it's an iconic Coachella headline performance.
Mm-hmm.
But
It was insane.
Another one of our favorite bands, in no particular order, is the Libertines. Classic British band, one of my favorite songwriters of all time. Pete Doherty is in that band. He's one of just my favorite singer-songwriters ever, really. And huge influence on our early music and early writing. And I think their first 2 albums are some of the best of that era and of all time. So I think, and they're just amazing live performers and just like true artists. I really do think they're true artists to that degree. Just fantastic musicians.
Last but not least, the band Vampire Weekend. We all grew up, you know, sharing, you know, just a love for their albums. You know, we had the honor of working with our producer Ariel, who worked on their 3rd and 4th Modern Vampires and Father of the Bride. Knowing Modern Vampires, and then when Father of the Bride came out, that's really when we started to pay a lot of attention to Ariel's work, I think, and you know, decided like, wow, it'd be really cool to work with this person someday, and it happened. We've also done a few shows here and there with them and have gotten to meet them, which, you know, the teenager inside all of us is, you know, freaking out over that. If we could somehow,
Yes.
you know, communicate that message to our past selves, you know, be insane. And yeah, just something about that band is so collegiate feeling. So when I hear those records, it's nostalgic for, you know, school and being a teen, transitioning into my adulthood, and yeah, just they're legends.
I think bands that have like each kind of member brings something different to the table, I think probably makes up the best band. Like examples, the Beatles, the Clash. I think bands that like each member has their own distinct style. Strokes. Yeah, I mean, I think also the bands that aren't willing to settle on a sound, you know, bands who are willing to progress and try new things and not really let any kind of preconceived notions of what your sound is or what people think your sound is get in the way, and it should only be writing from a place of inspiration or where you're at in your life, so to some degree. So I think that's probably what makes the best band, and I hope that we are, you know, achieving that to some degree.
I think the Beatles and Radiohead are the perfect examples of that. If they had been afraid to experiment or like listen to the haters, if you will, we wouldn't have some of the best music of all time. So it's
Yeah, they have longevity for that reason. So.
exactly. Yeah. We've always made music that we like and are proud of, but for me personally, I feel like this is the first time that I'm listening to something that I like know without question that I would like if I heard it from someone else. And it's a good feeling. It's hard to achieve that, you know, where you're like, it's hard to come at it from an unbiased perspective and sort of imagine a world in which you're reacting to it if someone else had made it. And I think that we just are really proud of every aspect of this record, and I really like to stand by it. Our fans have like really been really responsive to the projects we put out, particularly our album, Nothing Happens, and I think it's nice to see that these people are open to letting this album in the same way they let in Nothing Happens. So I hope that in 3 years' time, because Nothing Happens is 3 years old, these songs are resonating with them and or have a special place in their heart in the same way that the songs off our previous projects do. So that's what I hope, is like in the long run, it's just as special to them, because this to us is, I think, our most special to us personally that we've made yet.